Hi and welcome. I'm here again today with Georgina Komar to look at conscious creating. And in the last video, we talked about unconscious creating. And you don't want to be an unconscious creator because unconscious creators get controlled by subpersonalities that exist on the unconscious level. Or in layman's terms, they're strategic and analytical parts that are capable of making wise investment decisions get overridden by the emotional components arising from the unconscious realm once a person moves out of their competency zone or comfort zone. So welcome, Georgina.
Thanks, Perry. It's great to be here. Hi, everyone.
Now, Georgina works really closely with investors. She's constantly helping them become better investors through improving their emotional intelligence around what parts of them, what subpersonalities are trying to control or override good investment decisions. She's constantly helping them see the beliefs and the stories that have been impregnated within them from outside sources that impact their ability to make wise, logical and analytical investment decisions. So Georgina, we know that once we're outside of the comfort zone, people meet these parts that have a lot of uncomfortable emotions. So as an example, just to set this context up, you might be investing in a new property and the analytical and logical parts have double-checked everything and the investment stacks up. You go to invest and suddenly you're feeling really nervous and sick. The unconscious person just knows that they feel nervous and sick and a bit emotionally out of sorts. The conscious person, of course, or if you're working with us, if you're working with Georgina, because we're helping people become conscious creators, conscious investors, will start to look within and say, well, why am I feeling so emotionally uncomfortable as I go to put my money on the line in this investment? And so as an example, a person might find out, working with Georgina, that, when they were younger, they were told the only safe way of making money was working in a job. And that person's entire social environment reflected that. They just hung out with people that, just work jobs. Or maybe growing up, you got a hard time from your mum and dad and you developed a part of you that sort of felt, well, I'm not good enough and I don't deserve good things. So here you are on your wealth creating journey about to invest and that feeling starts to surface because we know that beliefs want to prove themselves to be true. The first thing everyone always asks us once we start to help them see what is impacting or what's undermining their investment success is they ask us a couple of key things. Always the same. How do I get rid of this or fix it? I can't create what I want with this. By the way, Georgina, how often have you heard these types of statements when you have helped a client understand undermining aspects?
All the time, Perry, because when people come up upon these parts that make them feel uncomfortable, they don't want to feel uncomfortable. So their initial reaction is, how can I get rid of this? I want to fix this. I don't want to feel this anymore. This is stopping me from getting what I want. How can I get rid of it? So it is really common. Yes, they feel like they're victims to it. So they want to remove it like it's a cancer, like get it out of me. I don't want it.
Get it out of there. They don't want to inspect it. They just want to get rid of it.
Yep.
Now, of course, there's thousands upon thousands of organizations and so-called healing or transformational methodologies that will say to you, listen, come along, and we're going to help you get rid of those belief structures, or we're going to help you get rid of that part of you. I've worked with thousands of clients, Georgina's worked with thousands of clients, and I can promise you now, the moment you go to that orientation, you'll lock that part in even more. You'll lock that belief system in even more. Georgina, why does it lock it in even more?
Well, because if we're not willing to recognize that it's part of the patterns that we have within ourselves, we're looking to get rid of it or to push it out from within us, we're actually giving that pattern or those subpersonalities the power over us, because what we need to be able to do is to accept these uncomfortable feelings rather than pushing them away. So to push them away and to say they need to be fixed actually strengthens them, because they do have, or they have had in the past, some really important reasons for being there in the first place.
Correct. They're survival patterns. And if you try and get rid of the survival pattern, you're in trouble, because the survival pattern is stronger than your will to get rid of it. It's just classic. So as an example, let's just take a simple example. You know, we've used this one a lot through these trainings. If you grew up and, you know, the underlying belief structures where it's unsafe to invest, and, you know, you'll lose your money if you invest, the only safe way to get ahead in life is to have a job, then what will happen is that belief gets locked into a subpersonality. Might be the worker subpersonality, the status quo subpersonality, but that belief is locked in because it's trying to help you survive based on its belief systems, because it's there. So if you go and invest, it's supposed to send you alarm bells, because based on its viewpoint, it's dangerous. So we always see this. We just see, we're uncovering these belief systems, and the person, I've got to get rid of this. Or they're feeling uncomfortable emotions from a part with a belief system, I've got to get rid of it. That orientation becomes what we call problem focused. It actually gives more power to the problem, or the supposed problem, than it warrants. There's a whole other way of moving, and we use what we call a creator model. But a great way of explaining this is a beach ball. So everyone on this call would have, well, most people would have experienced trying to push a beach ball underwater. What happens, Georgina?
You can hold, as long as you're holding it down with your energy, with your hand, it'll stay below the water. But the minute you let go, it's going to pop back up, and you can only hold it down even with your energy for a certain period of time. It's always going to pop back up.
Correct. So that's what happens when you're trying to get rid of something. It's there because it really believes it's there to help you. And so you're trying to get rid of this part, and it's just going to pop back up and push back up, because it's trying to help you survive based on its belief systems, based on its views about investing or life. So we teach a creator's model. Now the creator's model is more focused on where we're going, what we want to create. It's not about fixing the parts that we meet on the journey. It's not about fixing or getting rid of the belief systems that we start to surface through the processes that we take clients through. Again, why not? Because the moment you do that, you're saying, that's the problem, I've got to fix that. I can't have what I want until I fix that. But these parts can't be fixed. Now, I also want to say that we do want these beliefs to be transformed. We do want these beliefs that maybe they've got a lot of voltage, meaning there's a lot of emotional tension with them, or there's parts of you that believe them a lot. We want them to die down and reduce in power. But we don't do that by actively trying to work on them. We do that by creating results that rewrite patterns or rewrite beliefs. So as an example, you can spend 20, 30 years trying to get rid of a belief like it's unsafe to invest. Or you can spend a year creating quality outcomes as an investor. And once you're creating success as an investor, you'll find those previous belief systems will tend to be transformed or certainly reduce greatly in tension. Is there anything you want to bring to this before we move on, Georgina? Because I went quite deeply into that subject.
Yeah, I guess the main thing to remember is it's sort of like anything that any new skill that we acquire or anything new that we try. When we first start out moving in a different way, it feels really, really uncomfortable, and there's a tendency to not want to continue working towards our goal. But the more we practice, the more we have the experience, then the easier it becomes, so that we're no longer looking to fix anything, because we recognize that nothing's really broken. It's just we've had beliefs that have been moved into a bit of a dysfunctional area. They may have been serving us at one point in time, but now that we've grown and we've matured and we're moving on, they no longer serve us in the way they always did. So there's just a matter of acknowledging that and just sort of pulling back or tweaking the power or the voltage behind these beliefs, because the original situation is no longer where we're at. We've grown and we want other things in life. So having this time to examine things and determine whether the belief that we have is still valid or not is key to being able to allow ourselves to find some balance and use these parts of us to help us get what it is that we actually want.
Great. Okay, so in the last video, we talked about how when someone's outside of their competency zone, outside of their comfort zone, moving towards what they want, and in this case it was an investment or a financial freedom scenario, that was the goal, that a person would meet all the subpersonalities that had been hiding below the line when they existed in a competency zone. So as an example, you're in a job that you don't particularly like, but you know how to do it really well, which means you can avoid conflict, you can avoid being rejected by your boss, etc., etc., etc. So there's a comfort in that. At that point, you will be able to avoid self-doubt and all sorts of other parts that might arise once you're outside the comfort zone. But the moment you're outside the comfort zone, so you're about to invest, as an example, in your first property, these sub-personalities come up with stories. Now, the unconscious creator, as we said last time, doesn't even know what's triggered. They just feel really emotionally uncomfortable. And they tend to reduce their action. There's no growth, there's no wisdom gained through that process because they're unconscious. In this work, what we teach clients to do is once these parts start surfacing, we get them to inspect it with these parts with conscious awareness. This is why we have the eye in this slide, showing you that we want to be super conscious, inspect the parts that get triggered as we start to invest. Why? Because we want to be self-masters. We want to be able to be fearless investors. And we can only be fearless investors when we have confronted and seen and worked with and met all those parts within us that are opposite of being a fearless investor. So, Georgina, just talk a little bit about this part of the process. So again, we just imagine that someone's investing, or they're about to invest in their first property. I know that you've been working with a couple of property developers lately, and as you know, they've been doing buy and holds, and now they've started to go into property development. And as they go into property development, it's now outside of an old competency zone, and they're triggered. So these are investors that are willing to be conscious. So what do you do with them, Georgina, once they're in that part of the process?
Well, we help them to really go in and observe and identify the different parts and the stories and the beliefs that those parts are telling them, and to help them recognize that the stories and the beliefs came from a time and a place in their life where they were really necessary to help them feel safe. They were a strategy to help them sort of manage their environment. But as we've grown and matured and we move towards some of these other goals, they actually can be holding us back and taking us on a journey and telling us all kinds of stories that tap into beliefs that aren't really valid in our current environment. So what we do is ask them to recognize and feel the fact that here's these uncomfortable emotions that are coming up for me, but regardless, being able to stay in the tension that some of those uncomfortable feelings will bring up. So we call it, being on the edge and not allowing the emotion to pull us back and move backwards from our goals. And it's only once we're willing to feel that little bit of discomfort. I mean, it can be a lot of discomfort, but the more we stay in that, we recognize that we're not really going to die. We're here. We're still there. There's not, I can feel this feeling and I can still keep taking action and I'm going to survive.
Sorry, Georgina.
It's okay.
So it's what you're saying, that you get them to stay in the tension, you're helping them to feel and get more aware of the emotional components, the uncomfortable emotions, and you're helping them to see the stories of those uncomfortable emotions. And in doing that, you're helping them see what subpersonalities hold those beliefs and emotions, correct?
That's exactly right. So
Right.
that they don't have to be so frightened or overwhelmed by them. It's our fear of the unknown and this discomfort that can cause us to just be really stuck and freeze or pull back.
Great. So what, just in that, so by getting to do that, to stay in that tension and inspect, symbolized by the eye on that slide, the emotions, analyze them. What are their beliefs? What are their stories? Where do they come from? How does that support successful investing versus the unconscious creator who's got the same emotions being triggered?
The unconscious investor has no idea what's going on and what these parts are doing, and they, without that awareness, they'll just continue to be stuck in the same cycle of getting to a point where they're wanting to pull the trigger and they'll just pull back. They won't know why, they won't understand it, they won't be able to control it. When you're a conscious investor, then you start to be aware when these feelings come up for you. You recognize them and you say, oh, I can really feel that real fear coming up around this. What's this about? Oh, gee, I'm worried that if I make this deal that I could lose money. Well, is that valid? I've looked at all the, I've ticked all the boxes and I know that this investment is sound, it's safe. And it will then allow you to take the action and to move forward. Without having that awareness of the fear, unconsciously, you'll just automatically pull back and won't take the necessary action.
So what I'm hearing in some sense is that through that process of working with the investor while they're going through that uncomfortable process and keeping them staying in tension, observing, understanding self, you're helping them see that these are just stories from the past trying to control them, or they're able to inspect and go, are they rational? Are they irrational? Do they serve? Do they not serve? And so you're deepening their emotional intelligence. That's the first thing I'm seeing. So they're therefore not going to be controlled by the old stories in the same way the unconscious person is going to be controlled by their emotions, because they don't even know what the stories are associated with those emotions. And so I can see, by the way, that increases wisdom, that increases self-knowledge, and increases self-mastery. And that over time, what happens is you actually set that person up so they're no longer influenced or by those parts, or if they are, not in a way that they would be without this conscious awareness work. Correct?
Certainly, their emotional intelligence, just totally increases and increases as they become aware of these different parts. It really helps them get a handle and control some of the beliefs, all of the beliefs that can hold them back. It's really, really important.
Great, okay. And this slide kind of encompasses this a little bit. It says a conscious person understands that emotional pain surfacing while taking action to create new results outside of comfort zone is a signal to introspect the triggered beliefs. Okay, by the way, you can already see this person is more likely to grow and evolve as an investor, where the unconscious person just can't, because they're controlled by things they have, parts of them they have no awareness of, no understanding of.
Yeah, they just want to move away from that when they're unconscious. When we're conscious, we actually look and are happy to actually feel these parts when they come up, because we know that we can challenge them and we can get better results the sooner we process those feelings and still continue to take action without the fear and the apprehension that may have been there in the past.
Right. Again, the slide it starts to embody what we're talking about. As a result, the conscious person is able to confront, critique, transform the beliefs while they create new results and are faster at getting results and developing self-mastery as an investor. It makes sense. An unconscious person avoids the emotional pain by backing off actions or finding avoidance, sidetracking behaviour. I think everyone's going to get that. I actually just want to extend this a little bit into something that I think is a little bit interesting. And then we're going to look at a couple of investing case studies. But Georgina, if you went to the gym, okay, and you hadn't been to the gym for 2 or 3 months, and you started to lift weights, what do your muscles do?
Oh, well, they'll be there for me as much as they can, but eventually they're going to get really sore. They're going to want me to stop because I haven't been using them for a while.
Yeah. So will they scream?
They're going to scream. There's pain. Maybe not in that exact moment, but certainly, a few hours later, and definitely 24 hours later.
Right. So the next time you go back, you'll still have some of that muscle fatigue. So the moment you start to lift a weight, will the muscles scream and go, ugh?
Yes, for sure.
Of course. Okay. So at that point, there would be a tendency you want to move away from that pain, wouldn't it? Because you're actually moving outside of the comfort zone of the muscle.
Certainly.
Right?
It's a perfect example.
Just so I want everyone to understand, that's what the unconscious creator does in this investing scenario. The moment they're outside the comfort zone, the emotions start to surface, they start to withdraw and pull back. It's no different to the gym. So what happens, Georgina, if you continue with the workout even though you're sore?
Well, eventually,
the muscles that you do that to.
Yeah, eventually they'll start to get stronger, and they'll be able to manage and handle the exercise or the different weights, so that I'll be able to be stronger, and it helps to build new muscle.
Great. Okay. One other question or 2 other questions. Actually, we'll go take this to another. If you go to yoga, when you first stretch, what do your muscles do?
Well, if you haven't ever stretched in that way before, they're going to resist.
Yeah,
they're going to scream.
And of course, in that resistance, there's pain. And when there's pain, do you think that there's more of a tendency to want to pull out of the stretch?
Of course. Yes, definitely.
So if you just breathe and observe the pain and stay in that tension, and you're willing to do that for a few weeks, does the muscle get more flexible?
Totally. And one of the key things that you said also as well, Perry, is the breathing.
Yes.
And that works not only in yoga, it also works in the gym example, and also actually works in dealing with these uncomfortable emotions. Just taking a breath of air, having a deep breath can make all the difference in the world to these really tense emotions that we're feeling.
Yeah,
because we hold our breath when we're
today, but one of the things that you work with clients around is that we actually even use the breath to pause. So investors learn that when they've got all these emotions coming up, you see that we bring them back into inspecting, that when the emotions are coming up, part of bringing awareness in to inspect and understand these parts is by using your breath as a pattern interrupt. Bring awareness back into the body. Okay, two other ones. Have you ever gone to play the guitar?
Yes.
Or any musical instrument, and you haven't done it before, and what happens to your fingers? Is it guitar or piano? What have you learned?
Both, actually.
Okay, so when you've gone to learn the guitar and the chord says you've got to put that finger over there, what's your finger do?
Well, the finger isn't used to holding that position, so it's going to get stiff. It may not be able to hold the neck of the guitar, and then, of course, pushing on the strings in order to play the guitar causes some pain on the pads of the fingertips.
Right.
So there's all kinds of.
Yep.
Sorry.
So in that pain, is there more of a tendency to want to pull out of it?
Oh, of course. For most people, the pain means, let's pull back. However, no pain, no gain, as the saying says. You have to go through that experience of changing the way your hand or your fingers are being used in order to be able to create competency around a new skill.
Great. So, if your finger can only move that much in the first week to get to the fret or the chord, to make the chord, after 3 weeks, it can move to that much without pain, right? Great.
Definitely.
One last thing. Have you ever had to go and learn something that when you first learn it, that your brain almost hurts and you feel you can't absorb it?
Totally. It's like your brain shuts down because it's too confronting.
Great. And so if you, at that point, are you more likely to back out of the learning and think, I can't do this, I'm too dumb? But
Well, before understanding the power of this work, yes, that would have been a typical reaction, and most people will have that reaction. But once you have an understanding of what's going on in your physiology and in your emotional state, you can actually, again, as we spoke before, use the breath, or we can actually take steps to help us clear the mind. We may need to slow things down. If we've got a lot going on, it can be too overwhelming, but we don't have to stop taking action. That's the key.
Yep. So in that case, could you learn something that might be hard to learn after a month of learning, even though you're feeling because it changes the neural pathways in the brain. Okay,
it certainly does.
What's this got to do with what we've just been through? I'm sure everyone can sort of see it. So when people get into what we call the fix-it models, it gives power to these supposed problems or beliefs or behaviours that have been developed to protect us based on their belief system. People get into personal development and they spend years trying to fix things, where you've only got to look at human beings and see what creates transformation and change. So the body mind itself is equipped to staying in tension towards a new goal and developing the competencies to achieve that goal, and that in itself rewrites patterns and overwrites patterns. And so when we approach it that way, we tend to get the results that we really, really want, and we tend to transform patterns of behaviour and belief that were once holding us back or undermining us. So I just wanted to finish up because this stuff that we're working with, it's not just pie in the sky kind of ideas. There's a whole bunch of evidence and proof within the biology or within the brain science field of why this approach works. It's absolutely amazing. So when we start to talk about becoming a fearless investor, which is what this is all about, if you approach investing and working with yourself in the way that we've described, and to be serious, you're best off working with someone that can help you see these patterns. It's really hard to do this work on your own. It's really hard to do this work when you read a book. When you're working with someone like Georgina as an example, she knows. First of all, she knows. She's worked with so many people, she's got an unconscious knowing about what's going on within you. So she's able to guide you into deeper insight about what's happening within you and hold you within this tension while you create what you want. So the model itself is absolutely an amazing model that absolutely works. But you know what? Once you get to that point where you have developed and use this type of model to create competency, you're actually moving in a new competency zone, and that's when you become fearless. As I started off I've talked before, if I go surfing and it's 5 foot or 4 foot, I don't feel afraid. That's my area of competency. If Georgina went out there, she would feel afraid. She'd be terrified. Okay? Once we use this process, Georgina could use this process to overcome her fear of waves, become a surfer. She would get to the point where she would feel fearless in waves of a certain size because she would have used this process to change and transform. Yes. Sorry,
Perry, and it's not going to happen overnight. It does take time to rebuild those neural pathways and to feel safe. So it might take a couple of weeks for me to feel comfortable about just being in the surf, but could take years in order for me to feel as competent as you do in 3 or 4 meter high surf, for sure.
Sure. Thank you, Georgina.